Nick Hijazi, the founder of the Mendez Cartel. I'm here with the
co-founder.
And I'm here with my boy. We've got a guy on the Mendez Cartel today, on the rest day. You guys know on rest days, I answer questions from my comment section. Today we're doing something slightly different. We're answering questions from the comment section and from my Instagram and social media. But we're bringing on a special guest to help me do that. My boy, Berserk Strength, Scotty. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but he's a strong man, incredibly strong, a guy that specializes in strength, a guy that... What's your max all-time dead? What the heck? We lost connection. What's going on? All right, people, we were experiencing some technical difficulties there. My sincerest apologies. I was doing Scotty's intro. I was doing Berserk's intro. Basically saying he's a strongman athlete, incredibly strong. What's your max all-time deadlift, bro?
735 in US freedom units, so that's probably around 334 kilo, something like that.
334. So he's an incredibly strong guy.
That's a power bar, no suit, by the way. So
yeah, raw.
Pretty nice lift.
he's a strong guy. So we've brought him on today to discuss various strength-related topics, as well as talk a little bit of gear. You take gear. We'll get into that. Obviously, we won't go too much into it, but we'll touch upon it. You go into it as much depth as you'd like, but we'll touch upon a little bit of gear talk as well, strength talk related to Scotty. I'll let him kind of give himself a little intro right now and introduce himself before we get into the questions. So Scotty, my man, let's go. Just say a few words.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, mate. I appreciate that. So yeah, I mean, I am a strength athlete. Strongman is my area of focus, although I wouldn't say I'm a top-level strongman competitor. I'm more focused on just getting as strong as humanly possible, really. And strongman's my outlet to express my strength. I very much enjoy the variety the sport presents. I have dabbled in some powerlifting as well. But yeah, deadlift and like lower body strength is definitely my favorite area of strength. I am also a strength coach, and actually with this channel, I do a lot of Hijazi's background, strength training, deadlift, squats, etc. So, that's why, you've probably seen me in the background somewhere. We're also childhood friends, so, it's good to be on here.
Yeah. He's an elite strength programmer, great knowledge of specific strength progression systems, very, very intelligent guy. Strength is something that it takes a lot of time to master. It's something that's very difficult, it's complicated, but it's something that takes a long time to master. This guy has he's been doing this for years and years. I've known him since a very young age. So very, very intelligent strength athlete, very good at what he does. Let's get into some questions. And actually, me and the co-founder are actually going to ask a few questions before we get started. So before we get into the comments, we're going to ask, me and the co-founder have got a few questions of our own. I'm going to start off with my first question. So bro, yeah. You've been training now, I guess, for what, 7 years, 8 years?
Probably closer to 10, I'd say.
10, okay, 10.
The line of when I actually feel like I started kind of moves, the more knowledgeable I get, if you'd like. But technically, the first time I touched a barbell, I was probably about 15. I'm 26.
Okay.
So 11 years, but proper concentrated strength training, probably like 7 or 8 years. Yeah.
So give us a little bit of insight into your journey in terms of how much stronger you've got. Where did you let's talk, I like the deadlift. The deadlift's a great marker of strength. When you first started training, what was your deadlift at? What's it at now? And talk to us about your journey as well, because you started using gear. When did you start using gear? Kind of talk about that aspect of it as well, if you could.
Yeah, of course. So, I mean, my journey is about as long and windy as it gets, really. Like, I played football, like Nick. I played rugby as well, although not as much. I was as weak as you could physically be, in my opinion. I was maybe 65 kilos body weight when I started lifting, 15. My deadlift was 60 kilos when I first touched the bar, I think. And that was sumo, disgusting. And
bro, come on, bro, don't do sumo.
I couldn't bench the bar.
You didn't do sumo, did you?
I did, believe it or
bro,
not.
Don't be gay, man.
Lifting, I did sumo. But yeah, I mean, it was 60 kilo when I first started, and it was disgusting. It was technically horrible. I didn't know what I was doing. No one showed me what to do. No one around me lifted weights. I was the only person to lift weights. The only information I got was from forums and magazines and YouTube videos. There was no Instagram, so I just made it up as I went along, really. But yeah, 60 kilo deadlift, couldn't bench the bar, couldn't do anything. Now, I mean, been training a long time, but my deadlift is around 335 kilo conventional on a power bar. So, it's progressed quite a bit. I will say it's the lift that probably progressed the fastest. So within a year, I think I went from 60 kilo to about 180 kilos. And that was sumo, God help me. And I probably gained about 10 kilos of body weight. So I went up to about 75 body weight. And I stuck around at that body weight for quite a long time, man. I mean, I didn't know how to train, I actually really enjoyed squatting. Squatting was probably the thing I did all through high school. Squatted 4 times a week. Used to do a lot of like Russian squat.
You squatted 4 times a week?
4 times a week, my entire team high school.
Jeez. What did you do? Did you do the Smolov program?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Smolov, Shaco, any disgusting Russian high volume routine I could find, I did because I love squatting.
Yeah.
I didn't really care about pressing, although I did do it because I had a vague interest in powerlifting. I didn't know what any of this stuff was, man. Like, I trained for like a good 10 months without knowing what bodybuilding, powerlifting, anything was. I just read random shit on the internet. I read Arnold's book, The Education of a Bodybuilder. And that was about as much insight into it as I got, right? So I did a lot of these strength routines, but then my accessory work was all just random, patchworks of bodybuilding programs that I kind of pieced together. And then probably when I was about 18, I decided to do proper powerlifting training. I think I did Candido's base mesocycle. So if any powerlifters out there,
Johnny Candido,
know who that is.
Yeah.
And I did that, and then that was when I was like, okay, this is cool. This is interesting to me. I did powerlifting for a little bit. I didn't really compete. I did like a shitty little meet, but I didn't do anything serious with it. And then I kind of went off the rails a little bit, actually, when I got to about 19. I idolized Eric Bugenhagen. Don't know if you're familiar with Break the Stick. And I basically did his style of training. I would go into the gym, and I would max out on a random exercise, and I would leave. And I would do nothing else. And
that's not how you want to train.
No, but it made me insanely neurologically efficient.
Yeah.
It made me very psychologically tough because the skill of maxing was something I honed all the time. And this wasn't on just conventional lifts. This was on random lifts. Box squats, partial squats, trap bar deadlifts, behind the back deadlifts, whatever I wanted to do. And then for about 6 months, and I gained no muscle. And I gained a decent bit of neurological strength, I guess.
Yeah.
And then from then on, slowly but surely, I figured out how to train. And I'd say, honest to God, like probably only 2019 to now, so what's that, 5 years, I've really known how to train and really built up a solid base of knowledge with regards to periodization. And
I always say, like, the first couple of years of training, and me and Juan both did this, the first couple of years of training, you make so many mistakes, and it's kind of like a fuck around period where you still make progress because you're still new to lifting, so you can pretty much do anything and you're gonna make some kind of progress. But it takes a good few years of failure, of trial and error, of making mistakes before you can find a routine that actually works for you and before you actually understand how to train. A lot of young guys that have just started training, like they're a few months into their training, a year, or even 2 years, a couple years into their training, a lot of the time there's no perfect template, there's no perfect plan. You're just going to have to go through trial and error and fail, and that's the best way to learn most of the time. Would you agree?
Oh, 100%, 100%. I mean, I never had a coach, which I don't recommend, by the way, but I never had a coach. I just trial and errored everything, tried different things, and just I was as passionate about it as you could possibly be, but I was just erratic. I did whatever I felt like doing and just committed to that 100% and then did something else, and I wasn't disciplined when it came to like progressing. I wanted to lift all the weight I could possibly lift at all times, and the biggest thing is I was not knowledgeable about nutrition. I ate like a dick. I didn't know how to gain weight, and it was hard for me to gain weight. So I sat around at 80 kilos or so for a long time. I'm 110 kilos, 112 kilos now. So I put on a solid 32 kilos.
What do you weigh, 240, 250?
240, 245, 240. Something like that.
Yeah.
And you asked me about PEDs. As well. So I'll segue into that. I started using PEDs in 2023. So a little bit over a year and 6 months. Okay. Those are pretty much like when I saw you, if you recall, in like March, April. It was just before that. And the reason I did that, amongst other things, was because I'd already done a lot naturally. I deadlifted 700 pounds in a deadlift suit. I'd hit big numbers in strongman lifts, 800-pound yoke, 350 at hand farmers. Sorry for the American units, people. I'm in America, so bear with me.
USA.
Yeah, I'd done a lot of stuff that I was very proud of, and I really knew how to train. Like I had a nutrition coach. I was dialed in every respect. And I felt that, for me, training is about, yes, it's about, accomplishing everything you can naturally, which I did for a long time, but it's about pushing the limits to the absolute extent of what is physically possible for me as a human, and it rankled me personally that there was a way that I could continue to do that and take it to the nth degree, and that I wasn't doing that. It felt like it was a stone I'd left unturned.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, when you turn that stone over, you've turned it over, and that's that. You're committed, right? But I felt mentally ready to do that and to commit myself to it, and before that, I really didn't.
Yeah.
Could you elaborate a little bit of the difference it makes? Like, do you think steroids are actually that powerful? Because a lot of people think it's like it's not a big deal. Like, do you think could you elaborate on the potency of steroids?
I will try to make this brief. Yes. So, bottom line, AAS, anabolic androgenic steroids, right, which we're talking about, work. They work very well. This is why all athletes have used them, right, in untested and tested sport. But we've really got to distinguish what we're talking about here. 300 milligrams of testosterone a week is not the same as a gram of testosterone, 500 milligrams of tren, and 100 milligrams of anadrol. Like, we're talking about concentrations and dosages. We're talking about compounds themselves and what they do. We're talking about duration of exposure, being on for 5 years, the amount of muscle, the amount of new synaptic pathways you can open up over time is significantly different to someone who's been using for 6 months, right? So there's huge degrees of separation. Don't think just because you jump on a cycle, you're going to turn to Mr. Olympia. You're not, you're not going to become world's strongest man. Do they work? Are they going to, if you have every single other thing in check, nutrition, training, mentality, training progression, the ability to push yourself beyond what you were capable of course they do. But you'll only become the best version of yourself. You're not, it's still genetic dependent. You're not going to turn into Eddie Hall.
So if the average guy jumps on, he's not going to become Bumstead.
No, isn't. But he can definitely become a significantly more muscular, more physically impressive, stronger, faster, whatever, better version of himself. And it depends how he manages them. PEDs should be treated like supplements, right? They're part of the equation. They are not the whole package. They're 20% at most. Nutrition, training mindset, consistency still factors into your progression more than anything else. PEDs make training easier. They make training hard easier. They make recovery easier. But they also increase risk, So it's a yin and yang thing. And it is somewhat of like a Faustian bargain. You have to know what you're getting into, and you have to be willing to commit to that. You can't have 1 foot in, 1 foot out, in my opinion.
Yeah. Very well said, brother. We're going to get onto some questions now.
I have one question. I have one question for Scotty, and this is, I think, a lot of people in the chat or whoever's watching this video can relate. And for example, Scotty, for me, I have a semi-decent squat and deadlift. I've always been able to increase those lifts, but I've struggled so fucking much with pressing movements, and I've tried readapting my form. I've tried different strength progression systems. Like, what do you think is the best way to improve those pressing movements?
Pressing, I mean, there's a bunch of ways to go about pressing it. For the first off, you are going to struggle to progress pressing quickly if you are a natural lifter and if you are not massively increasing calories all the time. Yeah. Pressing is very responsive to food intake and to androgens, right?
And to body weight.
Yes, if you're in the maintenance and you're a natural guy, you just have to accept pressing progression might be relatively slow. There's a few different pathways you can take. So number one, if it's powerlifting, technique and specificity is going to be key. So increasing your frequency, like this hits flat bench, increasing your frequency 3-4 times a week, nailing that competition technique bench, kind of circumventing things a little bit, decreasing range of motion with an arch. That's going to increase your competition bench, which is what you care about as a powerlifter, right? If we're talking about getting strong on presses, my philosophy is very simple. Attack the press from every angle possible. Every incline, seated OHP right down to flat. Accessorize with multi-joint tricep exercises specifically. Definitely get your dumbbell presses in, movements with lots of range of motion. But man, multi-joint tricep movements, like the JM press, the dip, tape presses on dumbbells, rolling extensions. These are movements that will develop your triceps. They'll hypertrophy them.
What about skull crushers? Do you like skull crushers?
Skull crushers are another one. Yeah. They'll develop the connective tissue in your elbows. right?
Yeah.
They'll develop your proprioceptive ability, like your ability to control weight through different ranges of motion, but also how to really produce force with your triceps, which is so important, right? And then on the back end of that, make sure you're hypertrophying every muscle group. Pecs, front delts, triceps, sure, but also rear delts, lower traps, posterior delts, all of that in tandem, right?
Yeah.
So, and you just have to be patient, mate. Like, it really, you do. But I would say if there's one, like, hack, it's really multi-joint tricep exercises. They will push your bench and your incline and your overhead through a plateau, for sure.
All right. Beautiful. We're going to get on to the questions now for Scotty. Scotty, you're going to answer these yourself because we just don't have the time requirements.
Yeah.
We're going to get into them. Try and keep. So I've got 3 longer-winded questions.
Okay.
That I want you to answer. Try and do these in 90 seconds a piece, if you can.
I will do my best.
Do your best, just for time requirements. Okay, we've got a dumb fucking question to start with, but answer. This is a real stupid one. From Swimbank, is sex bad for gains?
No. Any healthy concentration of testosterone in your body, whether you're natural or not, is going to produce, you're going to have high libido, okay? And if you have a loving partner and a healthy sex life, go fucking nuts, mate. You'll be absolutely fine. A temporary decrease in serum testosterone from sex or whatever is not going to affect anything. If anything, there's really no real correlation between serum testosterone and gains as such, unless it's below the reference range. So, yeah, I wouldn't worry about that. Have at it. I'm sure your missus will be happy to hear this. Don't abstain. I mean, if it's just for mental discipline or something like esoteric, then knock yourself out. But as far as gains go, you're good.
All right, beautiful. Next question. Straight into the next one. This is a slightly longer one. Question for next rest day from Yee V4R. I've been bulking for 4 months and I'm getting a little bit chunky for my liking. My diet has not been very clean on this bulk and I am aiming for a small cut to get to the point of leanness I am happy with, then to bulk again. I have been thinking about approaching my next bulk as a lean bulk where I eat clean. I'm just wondering for some tips on how to approach this mini cut and how I can properly bulk while putting on less fat. I am also wondering if I should aim to change my training frequencies while bulking or cutting. By the way, love the videos, mate, keep it up. Thank you very much. Scotty, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I wouldn't bother too much with your training frequency. If you're finding that you're dropping calories and your recovery isn't as good, you might want to look at training volume, and frequency will factor into that, maybe. But frequency is just about preference. Like, it's just how you distribute volume throughout X amount of sessions. That's pretty much it, you know? So you should be fine on that front. I mean, obviously, if you're just not recovering, you need to pull back volume and potentially intensity and potentially frequency. You're just going to have to be critical with your program. When it comes to the bulk, I mean, dude, dirty bulking doesn't work. It's stupid. Don't do that. In a nutshell, it will ruin your insulin sensitivity. It will ruin your blood glucose. You'll probably look like shit and you won't gain that much muscle, right? Bulks are absolutely essential when it comes to gaining muscle, but they should be in a light calorie surplus, like 300 to 500 calories. You should still be active. You should still be walking. You should still be training hard, you know, and sustain it as long as you can until you get a little bit fat. When it comes to the mini cut, yeah, drop your calories a little bit. Monitor these health markers. Monitor blood glucose as best as you can. You know, you want that in reference range. Maybe walk a little bit more, but still keep your calories relatively high. I would just maybe drop some carbs, drop some fats here and there. Make sure your digestion is a little bit better, because mini cuts are great to kind of fix GI health issues. And then once you reach an acceptable degree of leanness, crack on again and just, you know, work with a small surplus.
Yeah,
That's
I agree.
about it.
I agree. Very valid points there. All right, next question. From Bruce Hill 9799. I was wondering how often you deload and how you go about deloading on this bulk cycle. I'm also bulking now, trying to figure this out. Okay.
Okay. Is that for you or me?
That's for you. These are all for you.
Deloads. So, I mean, it's a funny one with deloads. I personally deload entirely intuitively, right? If you're an individual who knows your body extremely well, you know when your joints feel like shit, you know when your nervous system, is fried, then by all means deload your main compounds. And that what that will look like, let's say you're progressing 5x5s on bench. you might just come in and take a 5x5, but at a much lower percentage, or it might be 3x5 at a lower percentage. So you're still working with the weight. You're still getting some practice with the weight. You're just not lifting as much. If you're absolutely fucked, like you are in the toilet, your digestion is horrible, you feel shit in the gym, you feel like you've lost like 15% of your strength, you're probably in need of a full deload. So a full week of training can be deloaded. If you want to program it, a rule of thumb is every 4 weeks, right? Just every 4 weeks, throw in a deload week. It doesn't hurt. It might bloat out a training cycle by another couple of weeks. But again, I mean, if you're intuitive, then just listen to your body and take deloads when you need it. But for me personally, man, I just try and get more sleep and eat better, and that's it, you know?
Very well said. All right, we're on to the quickfire round now. Bash these out in 30 seconds, bro, because we got... just bash these out. I think we got like 11 questions, so bash these out. Okay, so a couple of these are stupid. First one is from Sergen Tishu. It's not even a question. Oh, sweet baby mama. Okay, from Johnny Owen, injury prevention protocols.
Are we talking about chemistry, or are we talking about training here?
Training, injury prevention protocols. That was the entire question.
Progressively overload your weight sensibly. Don't start training cycles too heavy. Don't do movements that absolutely don't fit your mechanics and feel horrible.
Yeah.
Maintain enough mobility to perform your exercises correctly.
Yeah.
And if your joints feel like shit,
yeah,
you know,
all right,
drop some weight.
So
joints supplement doesn't hurt either.
You'd recommend like careful exercise selection is important.
Yeah, and listening to your body and how you progress. If you're getting like tendinopathy, stop.
All right, next one. Best accessories for increasing barbell OHP.
Great question. The standing barbell overhead extension, a 75-degree paused incline bench, the dip, and then the tape press on a high incline.
Very nice. Next one. And that question was from Kiko T007, by the way. Forgot to read his name out. Next one, Edric SH. Should I do progressive overload on all exercises? Always, even after a few years of TR? I think he says few years of TRT. I think he means that.
If it is TRT, I mean, your hormones should have no bearing on your progressive overload. Like, your goal should always be to try and progress in the gym, whether that's intensity, volume, both. Yeah. Just do your best to force progressions when you can.
Yeah.
Simple as that.
Yeah, well said. All right, I'm going to rattle these out. From Wahalji, constipation when dieting, even though I eat a lot of fibers.
Probably too much fiber, mate, to be honest with you. Yeah, I mean, digestion in general, man, like if your fiber is too high or low, that's part of it, but make sure that your liver health is on point, right? Like you're taking something like a TUDCA or an NAC if you're really pushing your training hard. Bear in mind, your training intensity affects your GI, so sometimes a deload from training is actually beneficial to reset your digestive system. Yeah. Make sure you're walking a little bit, 10-minute walks after a meal. Might be helpful to give your gut a break. Occasionally drop your calories by 1,000 or so just for one day, just to reset. And if there are any scare foods that are really affecting you, cut them out.
All right, next one from Dijad Danaj. Apologies, I butchered the name there, brother. What is the best training split for 5 days of training?
There's no answer to this.
There's no. I've said that. I'll touch on this quick. There is no best split.
Yes, pretty much. It can be PPL, could be a bro split, could be a powerlifting orientated SPD style split. Even the way I train is still fundamentally like push, lower, with different combinations of exercises. So as long as you're progressing everything and you're not overly biasing one area over another that's affecting recovery, you'll progress. And if you're not progressing, just track your variables and see what needs to be altered.
Yep. Very well said. From J-Man Ukin 92, low weight and high reps or low reps and heavy weights? This is a bit of a silly question, but I'll let you take it. There's no silly questions, actually. Every question is valid.
There's no silly questions, and I get the confusion.
There's no silly questions, apologies.
Both have their place. Both are instrumental to building tissue. Anywhere from 5 reps to 30 reps is still within the quote-unquote hypertrophy range, so you're still going to gain tissue from that. The lower the reps, the heavier the intensity will be. So you will get a neurological benefit, which means you're more likely to progress top-end strength. Your training program, if it's hypertrophy focused, should feature a whole range of reps, and you should be aiming to progress all of them as best as you can. If you're strength focused, you are going to be working in the 1 to 5 rep range more often. But that's up to you and your goals, man.
Yeah, I would say work in a variety of different rep ranges and try and get strong in all rep ranges.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. From it's your boy_20, you have a tiny wiener. Thank you very much. All right. Next question. We've got 3 more. Let's bang these out. Sirig Nanu. What's the best way to increase my squat without a spotter?
Without a spotter, I mean, make sure you have safeties in your rack. Learn to bail. Make sure you're capable of executing the skill of bailing a heavy squat safely. I know that sounds kind of silly, but it's necessary. Watch how weightlifters bail squats. And find a spotter, man. Like, where are you training? The fucking moon? You can find a spotter.
Yeah. You should have a spotter, bro. You should. You got
some old women to spot you.
Yeah, ask your grandmother. All right, yours, Daddy. As a person who's been in the gym for like 7 to 8 months, can I follow your workout?
You can try. I mean, I wouldn't follow my personal training because it's very specific, but you can emulate anyone's training, man. But your goal should be to find what works best for you. Yeah. And if you've only been training for less than a year, pretty much everything is going to work for you. So just make sure that you're training consistently, you're progressing, you're not getting injured, and find what you actually enjoy about training, and focus on that, because that's what's going to keep you consistent.
It's specific to you, bro. You can emulate certain aspects of our training, but to copy it completely, I wouldn't recommend that, because we're different levels of advancement.
And also, I really will say I would not emulate particularly high-level strength athletes training just because it's highly specific and it probably isn't relevant to your goals. Yeah. Similarly, I wouldn't emulate Olympia bodybuilders because they're so far beyond the novice lifter that what works for them probably doesn't work for you.
Facts.
So just bear that in mind.
Fact. All right, final question, very generic here, and I think we've touched upon it. I'm not going to have Scotty answer this because I think the whole video answers this. 7aid min_min, how to get stronger. We've pretty much answered that throughout the video. We've made some good points there. So great question, 7aid min_. I think this whole video answers that question. That's the alarm for my chicken. But I think that's the video. That's the video, guys, I think. Pretty much. The co-founder did not say much. Co-founder, we're sorry, bro. You want to say something?
No, bro. It's nice to listen. Scotty is somebody who knows a lot about training, nutrition, supplementation, and I mean, I'm just another viewer who enjoys to listen about training and all this type of stuff. Yeah. Really grateful for you to come out here and teach us all of this.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, Scotty, brother, thank you very much. We're going to sign the video off. Nick Hijazi, the founder of the Mendez Cartel, here with the
co-founder, boys.
And here with Scotty. Scotty, brother, I'm going to put Scotty's Instagram in the description. Go follow him. He's a brilliant guy, incredibly knowledgeable, incredibly intelligent. Go follow him on Instagram. Thank you very much for watching, guys. We're going to do more videos like this. We'll probably bring Scotty on again. We're going to have people on again, but Scotty's such a knowledgeable guy. We'll have him on again. Nick Hijazi, the founder of the Mendez Cartel, here with the
co-founder.
Thank you very much, Scotty, Berserk. And as always, salute, long live King Charles III, and God bless Sir Winston Churchill.